Good morning to my wonderful class of Eco 105-4. And today, Antonia Abunera and I, Edward Matos, have a very informative presentation on the market structure of a monopoly. Here is our table of contents. So, what is a monopoly? Well, this definition will basically spoil my entire presentation, but oh well, right? So before I review to you what is the full meaning of a monopoly, I'll tell you where the word came from. So mono means single, and poly is a Greek word which means sell. Therefore, single sell or sale by one person. So as you can guess, a monopoly is a market structure characterized by a single seller selling a unique product in the market. In a monopoly market, the seller faces no competition as the seller is the sole seller of goods with no close substitutes. So as the definition stated, a monopoly only has one seller, in other words one firm, and consequently has many buyers. Monopolies have one seller so that many buyers only buy from, monopolies have one seller, so that means many buyers buy from this one seller. This causes the firm to be price makers, since they can almost basically set the price to whatever they want. I emphasis on the almost. Customers would have to pretty much pay for whatever the firm asks for. Monopolies usually set the market price many times over its marginal cost. Customers or they would just have a really high profit. Customers would normally have little to no choice to pay whatever the firm charges if they want it, because the firm has a monopoly in the market, right? But there is a catch. If a monopoly charges too much, then what do you think will happen? Well, of course, the monopoly will lose money, since it will discourage people from buying the product, and it can cause them to lose money in other ways. Like some cases with music and movies, it would encourage piracy to happen, which is illegal, guys, and in the end it decreases customers for these industries. Furthermore, a monopoly wants to maximize the profits. This affects the price of what a monopoly chooses to sell the item for. If they charge too much, fewer people would buy it, right? And it runs the risk of inflation. This would also cause the loss of profit, since they wouldn't reach as many people. Usually it increases the total revenue, which is the total units sold, total units times the selling price of the unit. So if they charge too little, they would lose profits, meaning they would lose the potential profits if they had charged more, So what they try to do is normally try to get that equilibrium reached in the middle, where they would have the maximum profits. So they try to reach a middle ground, and furthermore, monopolies set the supply according to demand. Sometimes the maximization of profits isn't the best thing for society, since monopoly has no competition to keep these prices in check. So they can sometimes be charging us way too much, if you know what I mean. So to get deeper into the limits of a monopoly and the price making power they do have, things like price ceiling that can cause a monopoly to not charge too high. Then after that, what is product differentiation first? Well, it is what makes a product different from other competitors' products. A monopoly has absolute product differentiation, since their product is normally patented with no other comparable goods or services. So they would normally have a monopoly over it, because there's none alike, that's just like that, right? And also, a monopoly has no competition. And what does this absolute differentiation cause? Well, of course, it causes the firm to have price making power. So with all of this, introduces deadweight loss. The deadweight loss is the potential gain that did not go to the producer or the consumer as a result of dead weight loss. The combined surplus wealth of the monopoly and the consumers is less than the obtained by consumers in a competitive market. A monopoly is less efficient in total gains for trade than a competitive market. Now there are four types of monopolies. The first is a natural monopoly. This happens when it is cheaper and more effective, more efficient for a single firm to do it in contrast, than it to have many firms, right? Such as electricity company, right? It wouldn't be as efficient if they had many towers and many towers and a lot of different lampposts by different companies along our streets, right? That wouldn't make a lot of sense, right? And this also introduces economies of scale, which is the cost of production drops as the company gets larger and bigger. An example of this is Tesla when they created the first Tesla Roadster. Their first vehicle, which was a supercar, the cost to just make one was a lot, and basically they had to bump up the profits they make for that first car, and basically now it would cost a lot less to make this because they don't have to do manual labor and they have the technology to create hundreds of cars a day now. So that is just economies of scale. So continue back is the second type of monopoly, which is the government is a government monopoly, is when a government owns and runs the industry, such as NGC, which is National Gas Company in Belize, and Belize Electricity Limited, BEL, and Belize Water Service, BWS. The third is technological monopoly. Like I said in the beginning, earlier in the presentation, there are patents. So these like technological monopoly, which are like prescribed drugs, which have patents, legal rights to inventions, and so forth. This is one firm that controls a manufacturing method, invention, or type of technology. The fourth is a geographical monopoly. It is when there is only one seller in a particular area. For example, a gas station on the highway in a small town, or another great example actually is Cheers on the Western Highway. They basically is the only restaurant on that little stretch of highway. So they basically have a monopoly on the in that single little area. All right. So yeah. So that's the four types of monopolies.
Advertising is defined as a means of communication with the users of a product or service. Companies pay for advertisement with the intention of informing, persuading, or influencing people to take interest in the product or service. In a monopoly, reasons for advertising could be because it would lead to more customers and a higher market share. Another goal for advertising would be to convert non-users into clients. Another reason would be to increase the amount that current clients spend with the monopoly. And just because a company is the only supplier doesn't mean that everybody instantly buys everything they have to offer. Therefore, they should advertise, inform, educate, and promote any additional products or services, and to encourage their customers to make both larger and more frequent purchases. But this is also very controversial due to the fact that it may not make sense to advertise depending on the company. For example, if it was a utility company, they wouldn't need to advertise if the utility company is a monopoly, which most utility companies are, because it can be seen as a waste of money. Now, entering a monopoly. Entering a monopoly is extremely hard due to the fact that the person would have to bring something new to the table, meaning that the product or service you will provide should have no close substitutes, allowing you to control the market. Once a natural monopoly has been established, there will be high barriers of entry for other firms because of the large initial cost, and because it would be difficult for the entrant to capture a large enough part of the market to achieve the same low costs as the monopolist. And there are very high barriers to entry, such as legal, technological, high costs or market forces, control of physical resources, patent, trademark, and copyright protection. With these factors, many are discouraged from entering this type of market. Now, thinking about local examples of monopolistic companies can include Belize Electricity Limited, also known as BEL, which are the only providers of electricity in Belize, allowing them to control the market. And this is a utility company. We also have Belize Water Services, which is BWS, which are the only suppliers of potable water in Belize, and that allows them to control the market. They are also a utility company. And that concludes our presentation. Thank you, Mr. Caballo, and the class for listening to myself and Edward Matos' presentation. And if you have any questions, we're here to answer them for you.